What is up, my boo-boo patooties? It is late Saturday night, so really it's early Sunday morning. We're in the midnight hour, maybe close to 1, and we're here for our secret sermons, our Secret Teachings of Jesus series, where I am reading the Nag Hammadi scriptures and Gnostic Gospels and some of the alternative gospels, and I didn't know when I would have time to actually just read them and enjoy them, so I thought I would do it together as a weekly segment. So I am not a theologian or anything. I'm just interested, and we're just having fun, and I am going to read you the portion, and then I unpack it line by line according to the downloads I'm getting. And a lot of things come through as far as like Kabbalistic references and things like that. And so, it's always a really fun way to spend a Saturday night, I guess. If you're a nerd like me, it's me pushing up my glasses that I don't have. Probably need them soon. All right, you guys. Some things before we get started. So if you are interested in this material, I have a whole playlist on my channel, Light, Love, Magic. It's called Secret Teachings of Jesus. Like this video, comment, subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to grow this channel and spread our messages out in the world. So there's some spiritual benefits to being up this late and studying. My Kabbalah teacher was just bringing it up again the other day, but it's these different times of day have different qualities of energy. And so as the light grows, so does the positivity. Or as the light is the newest, it's the most positive. So at midnight, that's the beginning of a new day. So that's the most positive because there's the most potential for the day, and light is beginning to grow. And so between like midnight and dawn are actually some of the most protected positive times throughout the day. And as the day wears on, negativity slips in, as your willpower is wearing down. And there's a lot of things going on in the upper realms that we're not aware of that are contributing to that. So that quality of energy. That's why in so many spiritual and mystical traditions, midnight is such like a powerful time of night to do rituals and things, because there's a lot of protection in midnight. The veil is also very thin at this time of night. So there's more light and wisdom that can come through that we can connect with. And because of the surrounding light at this time of evening, our soul, as we are sleeping at night, in the middle of the night, it ascends from our body and goes through like a miniature version of death and judgment day. And it's a daily cleansing that the soul goes through, and it comes back to the body as you're waking up. And so the soul has different levels of itself, but the highest, purest part of the soul, the upper part of the soul, has what's called surrounding light. And that's the light that surrounds you, kind of like your aura, right? It might actually be, I don't know if it's your aura or what, but think of it like that. And so, when you see pictures of saints like Jesus, they always have this like big halos around them. It's the surrounding light of their soul. So it's protective. So you're protected by that surrounded light during the midnight hour. And there's also this phenomena where if you're a spiritual student and you're studying concepts, then it goes to without saying that you're going to have to go through a process to embody that lesson and to like earn that light and solidify it in yourself. And so that's where tests and challenges come up. And that's why if you like start reading a spiritual book, it's like immediately something is already happening to you that day that's like relevant to like the material. It's not an accident. It's totally happening on purpose. So basically when you take in a lot of light, it's like we're like these little batteries and we have to ground it, right? It's too much for our wattage, for our ampage. And so we have to earn by building the vessel. And so part of that is going through a process. And sometimes it can become chaotic and uncomfortable and challenging. So part of the surrounding light and part of staying up this late to study is that you get to get these like insights without having so much process that has to follow. You're protected from some of the harder parts of like working out the material, if that makes sense. And yes, and there is also a sacrificial element to pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone of, wanting to give into the body consciousness of wanting comfort and instant gratification and, wanting to receive for the self alone as opposed to receive for the sake of sharing. And so the thing is, when you don't feel like doing a sharing act, like for instance, I rarely feel like coming in after work on Saturday night and like pouring over like really dense, like cryptic, abstract concepts for like 45 minutes. But then once I'm in it and I'm doing it. But the thing is that if we push ourselves to do something that we don't feel like doing, it has an even deeper and more positive impact. So there you go. It's because you break your flesh in the spirit of Eucharist, and that sacrifice opens up, it breaks down negativity and it opens up the light to be revealed. So as an instrument of the Creator. Well, all right. Well, we are in the Gospel of Philip. Some of the other Gospels have been a little bit more narrative with some scene work that we've been having fun with. But in the Gospel of Philip, it's more like these portions of these kind of cryptic ideas that are meant to, you're sort of supposed to mull over them. It's like this mental yoga that you kind of meditate on these concepts. And so they're a bit symbolic, they're a bit cryptic and abstract, but I think we've been doing okay with them. So with no further ado, our portion this week is called Seeing. People cannot see anything that really is without becoming like it. I'll say that again. People cannot see anything that really is without becoming like it. It is not so with people in the world who see the sun without becoming the sun and see the sky and the earth and everything else without becoming them. Rather, in the realm of truth. You have seen things there and have become those things. You have seen the Spirit and have become the Spirit. You have seen the Christ and become the Christ. You have seen the Father and will become the Father. Here in the world, you see everything, but you do not see yourself. But there in that realm, you see yourself, and you will become what you see. Ooh, I really like this one. I think I want to read it for you one more time, because it's hard, it's choppy, and yeah, it's worth just like letting it sink in. People cannot see anything that really is without becoming like it. It is not so with people in the world who see the sun without becoming the sun and see the sky and the earth and everything else without becoming them, but rather in the realm of truth. You have seen things there and have become those things. You have seen the Spirit and have become the Spirit. You have seen Christ and have become Christ. You have seen the Father and will become the Father. Here in the world, you see everything, but you do not see yourself. But there, in that realm, you see yourself, and you will become what you see. Okay, so monkey see, monkey do. We're all energetic beings, and we are all interconnected, and at our core, we are one. We are a hive. We are a hive mind. That means that our energy, our spirit, it can have an influence over space, over others, over people. You could feel this when certain people have very commanding presence about them. And all of a sudden, everybody straightens up when they come around. Or if someone's coming around that everyone is like dreading and like they're just like super negative and it puts everybody in a bad mood, like people affect one another. And so when you surround yourself with these things that you see, eventually they start affecting you and you become like them. In physics, in the particle slit experiment, they discovered that particles can manifest as waves, or energy can manifest as waves or particles, like little packets. And they were trying to figure out, like, is energy a wave or a particle? And what they found was that it can be both or either, depending on if it's being observed. And basically they discovered that even if there's not a person in the room observing and there's just an instrument, it's like the energy knows that it's being observed and it's affected by just the attention that you're putting on it. Just the fact that it's being observed. So people cannot see anything that really is without becoming like it. Anything that is true has a solid, like consistent, eternal frequency. It's like unchanging. It's stubborn. It's not going to adjust. And so when something is like solid and not adjusting when it's true, other things change like a tuning fork. I'm not a musician, and I've never played instruments, but I think that like when you strike a tuning fork that's in perfect pitch, that the other strings or whatever, what have you, that you're tuning, like they want to go to meet that, right? They want to find resonance with it. And that's the same. It's like with us, it's like when something is true, you resonate with it. And that's not just a pun. It's like when something is real and solid and eternal and unwavering, that's what makes it true. It's consistent. It's eternal. It doesn't stop. It doesn't change. It's unchanging. It's unwavering. It is true. And so vibrationally, energetically, things want to resonate with what is true and eternal. And it's so true because like metaphorically and emotionally, it's like when something's true, we resonate with it. And it's just like these different slices of our being are always reflecting the same truth. It's like just mirrored in every way we are. What's true is always true, and it's mirrored everywhere. And there's symbolistic like things reflecting that truth back to us at all places. So people cannot see anything that is without becoming like it. So going back to something being true and eternal, being able to influence, and we influence each other. So the person in the room that has the most consistent, solid vibration that's unwavering, unchanging, is going to be the most influential to the other energies to want to match it. Usually the person with the highest vibration is the strongest. But if they're cutting in and out and they're not holding the frequency, then they're inconsistent, right? And so they're not as powerful. They're not as influential. So that's why fanatics and zealots have so much influence, because they're unwavering. They're unchanging. They're eternal. We need to be in a state of cause consciousness to become eternal, meaning that we have affinity with the light. The light was the cause. The Big Bang. Let there be light. It is the first event, and everything came after. And so we live in a world of cause and effect. Like when the light was just the light by itself and everything was contained within the light, it was only cause. There was no effect. But in order for the light to have something to share with a vessel, it became separate. And so now that we, the vessel, live in the world of separation or seeming separation, we live in a world of cause and effect. And we are trying to be like the light again and become like the light and be the cause in a world of effect and not be affected in a world full of effect. So the more that we are the cause and not effect consciousness, we are unchanged by the circumstances around us. Whether they're comfortable or uncomfortable, it doesn't matter. We can be consistent. We can be the vibration that we choose to be. We can set our thermostat for joy, love, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, self-control, and we can keep it there. But it takes discipline. So they're called disciples. So if you can set your vibration and hold it there, energy in the room is going to morph to your influence, especially if that is true. And if it is in having affinity with the light, with the ultimate truth, with the truest of true things. All right. It is not so with people in the world who see the sun without becoming the sun, and see the sky and the earth and everything else without becoming like them. It's because the material world is not the truth. It's an illusion. The material world is only projecting our vibrational resonance and truth in what we perceive at any given moment. The world is only projecting what we need it to open us up to the more awakening of the light, and the only giving us what we need to cut through the layers of our bullshit and our negativity and our fear so that we can reveal more light in the world. So what we're seeing is not true. Everything is changing about this world. All my cells are dying as we speak. I'm dying as we speak. Everything is rotting, right? Everything has an expiration date, right? What is that? Carbon dating, right? The trees, the house that I live in, everything is breaking down, right? In this world, everything is dying as soon as it gets here. So it's not true. It's false. It's an illusion. And so we're not as powerful as something that is eternal and unchanging, because we're not consistent, we're not true. And so we don't just become like those things, because they're not solid, they're not forever. They waver. So it is not so with people in the world who see the sun without becoming the sun, and see the sky and the earth without becoming them, or everything else without becoming them. Rather, in the realm of truth, you have seen things there and have become those things. It's like when you see something so poignant in life and it moves you and it strikes you to your core, and you never forget it. It puts such an impression on you. And sometimes it's because it's so inspirational. Sometimes it's because it's so heartbreaking. But when you see things on a deep intrinsic level that give you this moment of revelation and epiphany, it might break your heart open to feel more compassion, for more understanding, more love, right? More joy, But those things, they change you and they have an effect on you, and you're never the same. But it's those things that are deeply true. And it's not the same for things that aren't true. Those things are just you can smell the bullshit and nobody's buying it, It's when, you can sense that someone's trying really hard to sell you on something, their program or their idea, and it's just they get into this formulaic thing, and it's just what is this? You can just almost predict exactly what they're going to say, and it's not very persuasive because you don't resonate with it. It's not really true. And maybe it is true, but they're not presenting it in an authentic way. So it's not very influential. If you've seen the Spirit, you have seen the Spirit and have become the Spirit. it's like when you see the presence of spirit in the world, when little miracles happen and synchronicities or little angel messages, or you get that, you pray, you say your prayer out loud and it just gets answered really quick and you're like, whoa, what? It's like when you see the spirit, you are changed. You're up-leveled. You're uplifted. And when you ascend like that, when you overcome, it solidifies and you don't go backwards. Like, it's like you keep that growth, you keep that level, you keep that spark of light that you've revealed in the upper realms. It's put aside for you in your bank account, in your spiritual bank account. But it's like when you see the spirit, you can't help but be changed by it and become more like it, because it like melts down, like the excitement of it. You're when you really see it, you become awestruck like a child, and it melts down your defense mechanisms and your hardness and your jadedness, or even the pain, and you're just like, wow, it just gives you this new perspective, or you're just able to sort of let things go and not let things bother you so much anymore, because you're just like, you've seen something that's just like, it's just so much greater to give your attention and your energy to, and you let it change you because it just activates something within you. You have seen Christ and have become Christ. It's like when Christ says, you will know the truth and the truth will set you free. It's like you will see the truth and you will know the truth and the truth will set you free. To know the truth is to live through it by experience. And once you know, you can't unknow. Once you've embodied something, it's real to you. So once you've seen and felt Christ consciousness in your life, and in a moment, and you've seen it at work in a situation, you become more like it. It activates something in you. It changes something in you forever. It's undeniable. It sets you free from the chains and the binds that held so tight before. Those things don't matter as much. You're like, oh, I've seen something. I've felt something. When you are in a state, and unfortunately, it's like we usually have to get in a state of sadness and fear and desperation to really be broken open enough in our heart to go deep enough to connect with that Christ center. But when you feel the comfort and the presence of that around you when you need it the most, and it's visceral, and you know that it's undeniable, like a feeling comes over you that's not your imagination. You can't not know that. It's awakened in you, and you become one with it inside. You're like, wow, this is within me and surrounds me, and this is no longer a nice idea or something that I hope to be true, or wouldn't it be nice if, like, I know this is something that is real. I've had firsthand experience. And so when you have seen the Christ, you become the Christ. When you begin to awaken, because the Christ is consciousness, it's the path of Christ. To follow Christ, to have Christ in your heart, is to activate the Christ's consciousness within your heart, to take you on that soul path, the soul journey of transcending your demons, to heal your heart, to awaken your consciousness on this path of enlightenment and of personal transformation and growth. It's not just a one and done, it's something you participate in with, like, as a devotee, because of love, not because of fear, not because of duty, not because we have to, not because we have to follow a rule book in order to get to heaven so we don't go to hell. This way of living, this Christ consciousness, it's liberation, it's peace, it's wondrous goodness. It's being able to walk through life with some kind of hope of being self-mastered up here and having self-control, so that you're not short-circuiting all the time, so that you're not completely self-defeating and like fucking shit up for yourself right and left. So you're not constantly taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back. There's no way we can possibly have the fruits of the Spirit in our life, or be competent, or have any hope of like radiating those or embodying them without self-control. And any minute we're going to blow a gasket. Ask me, I do it all the time. Right? You have seen the Father, and you will become the Father. It's like we get glimpses of the Father, of the ultimate all. And we have these moments where the veil is thin and we become one with that knowing. But we can't be one with the Father until we're finished with all of our incarnations and we're done existing. Like, was it Elijah or was it Enoch? One of the earlier dudes in the early Old Testament was talking about how he was a prophet and he walked with God all of his days, and then one day he was no more because he was so ascended that he had no more layers of the ego to get rid of. He was completely absorbed back into the all, into the one. So he had no personality anymore. So we will be the Father one day. We can see it. We can strive to it. But if we go fully back into the Father, then the light is alone again without vessel. And the light wants vessel to share with. There is a footnote there, 46. The text suggests an eschatological, I don't know what that word is or how to say it, perspective with a present realization of spiritual union with Christ and an anticipation of the future union with the Father. I haven't been to school for this, guys. This is just the information that was channeled through, and now we are reading it back in the footnotes. Amazing. Such an eschatological perspective is also found in the letters of Paul. Well, we can look forward to those, can't we? Here in the world, you see everything but do not see yourself. But there, in that realm, you see yourself. And you will become what you see. And so here it's talking about how here, the small self that we're interacting with any given moment, the ego self, the self that's like, blowing a gasket 2 hours ago, having a shit fit, and then laughing about it 10 minutes later. Like, that's the small self. And we really don't even see the fullness of ourselves here. It's a lifelong journey, even if we're trying as hard as we can to see even a glimpse of who we truly are, the potential that we really have. And so little by little, we try to shed these layers of negativity, of fear, of smallness, of self-defeatism, of our rage, of our, or that's not fair, or whatever, wringing our hands, our worry, our anxiety, our insecurities, like all of these things, our prejudices, our self-righteousness, our entitlements, we're shedding them layer by layer by layer, trying to reveal the higher self within. This is our spirit self, the piece of self that is a true reflection of our most perfected uniqueness with our personality, but like with the perfection of the light. The spirit self within us needs no correction. It's completely perfected. in our most magnificent state, our most magnificent personality, our most magnificent glistening soul, you know, with no hate, no unforgiveness, no pain, no sorrow, no suffering. That self is the self in the upper realms. That self is the self that we're trying to surrender our ego to and be led by, because that self is the bridge, is the connection that we have with the Holy Spirit. That self is already transcended. It's holding space for us. That is the higher soul, the surrounding light that protects us, that looks over us, that tries to guide us the best it can. So when we talk about becoming our higher self, when we talk about up-leveling into being a more of an embodiment of our higher self, it's like that's the self that we don't see in this world, but we can glimpse it in the spirit world, and we become like that self more and more. The more we spend time emptying ourself of the small self, of the ego self, so that we can glimpse that self and become more like that self, right? And every time we see more of that self in us, we become more of that self, and we up level and we up level. And slowly but surely, our outer world begins to reflect that inner self as well. All right, and we will become what we see, that vision. Let's wrap it up, people. People cannot see anything that really is without becoming like it. It is not so with people in the world who see the sun without becoming the sun, and see the sky and the earth and everything else without becoming like them. But rather, in the realm of truth, you have seen things there and have become those things. You have seen the Spirit and have become the Spirit. You have seen the Christ and have become Christ. You have seen the Father and will become the Father. Here in the world, you see everything, but you do not see yourself. But there, in that realm, you see yourself. And you will become what you see. All right, y'all. I guess we're all going to become what we see. So be careful what you're looking at. All right, ciao.